places you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow, and I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Jenny boy, oh Jenny boy, I love you so. But if ye come and all the flowers dying, and I am dead as I may be, you'll come and find a place where I am lying, and even say an Ave there for me. And I shall hear those soft tread above me, and all my grave shall warmer, sweeter be. For you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me. Edelweiss, every morning you greet me, small and white, clean and bright, you look happy to meet me. Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow, bloom and grow forever. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, bless my homeland forever. Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow, bloom and grow forever. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, bless my homeland forever.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? The program today is a celebration of Joe Strano's life, December 6, 2025. The program was made up by Joe's family and the members of the Tuesday Morning Torah Club. The Hebrew Scriptures Club has been meeting for several decades, and we had Joe with us for 10 years. So if anybody got an idea about how his mind worked, we sure did. And the group voted 9-3 to have me speak. Joe was a unique individual. We recruited him from the breakfast nooks at Park Diner, where he used to like to sit and hold court. And as soon as I heard him talk about dozing, I knew he was the man for us. Dozing is when you take a big stick and it's cut like a drum, like the breastbone of a turkey, but it's big, and you walk around, and when it dips down, you found water. He told me that once that he was going to join the ADA, that's the American Dozing Association. But I think he had a twinkle in his eye when he did. Joe had such enthusiasm and wonder. He used to say things were a wonderment, like Hebrew phrases he liked, like manna. You know, the Israelites, when they got food fall down onto their grass and they were starving, they said, manna, what is it? His latest intrigue was Ze'ama sheyesh. It is what it is. He loved that. He was mad about the Dead Sea Scrolls and the lives of the zealots that lived there awaiting the Messiah. He was mad for the bicameral brain. He followed the development of the human brain from two disconnected lobes to well-integrated brain capable of abstract thinking. It was his questions, though, that really typified him. Like he would ask me, Mike, how do you account for the existence of evil in a universe that is run by an omniscient, good God? Or he'd ask Art, our physics expert, how do you account for quantum action at a distance? Is it a set of rules that physics plays on our particles that we don't understand? Or is it that we're part of a bigger universe that superimposes its rules on us? He was unique in that way. And Joe, where shall we find those questions again? I ask you, where? At this time, we're going to have a reading of Ecclesiastes by Kit Ashman. That's you, buddy.
A time for everything. For everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under the sun. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather the stones together. A time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to cast away, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace.
Just a reminder, all the songs and the music that we're playing today are from Joe's songbook. At this time, we're going to have a playing of Ave Maria. So just an anecdote, until they hook up for sure the microphone. I remember we were all sitting at our table at the Park Diner, and a gentleman in an adjacent table said, "You know, I've been listening to what you guys are talking about. It's fascinating. I want to join your group." We said, "Come ahead." Turns out he was a minister, and afterwards he said, "Wait a minute, I can't do that. You didn't tell me I had to study something every week." So it looks like we're hooked up now, and I would just like to say the Lord's house has many rooms, and I'd ask some of my Jewish friends to join me in the mourner's prayer. I could use a few people with me. Someone wants to. Okay, yeah, I've got it like that too. Yizgadal v'yizgadash shmei rava v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon u'yomechon u'v'chaye dekol beit Yisrael v'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen Yehei shmei rabba mavorach l'olam almaya almaya Yisparach, Yishkabach, Yispar, Yisramam, Yisnaseh, Yishadal, Yishalel, Al Shmei Dehushar Brichu, La'ela Min Kol B'Yakofa, Sikata, Tekamata, Nechamata, Damaran, Bialma, V'Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shloma Rabba Min Shemaya, V'Chayim Aleinu, V'Al Kol Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen. Osa Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen. And it is Aramaic that we were reciting. The interesting thing about the mourner's prayer is that it's written in Aramaic, which was the more popular language around the Middle East in the 1st to 2nd century, and it made it more accessible to everyone. It's a wonderment to me that it doesn't mention death ever. A general translation of it, because we're always reciting it, but whoever translates it, it's taken me a long time to make it up to date to 2025. And the great name is to be honored and made holy. The name of the Creator of life and the days of our life. It extends throughout the universe, so far beyond our puny ability to approve, augment, enhance. It's the Creator of peace, and may the great name bring down peace from on high to us and to all mankind. At this point, we're going to have some people from the audience who are going to speak.
I have some prepared remarks, but I'm going to start with some unprepared remarks. I met Joe when my friend Michelle brought me up here for the General Clinton Canoe Regatta. Yes, it's Bobby. I dated only Jewish men. I was not expecting to meet anyone at this weekend because I knew that they were all Michelle's family, and I wasn't going to meet a Jewish man. at this General Clinton Canoe Regatta, which I think helped me to be very, very relaxed. And I watched Joe organize this big group of people and how laid back he was, and I saw how loving he was towards his daughters. So, when he was interested in meeting me again, I gave it a chance. And he followed me to Italy. He had a twinkle in his eyes, and an incredible smile, and his warmth won me over. I could tell that he was a real mensch. And in spite of all of his idiosyncrasies, I fell in love with him.
Get that mic
So,
down a little closer.
Joe, gosh, I'm going to miss you.
It might work better.
I'll miss your smile
That's
and steadfastness and steadiness, your kindness and love for me, for our friends and family, our sharing of food and music and movies and debate and socializing with others. You appreciated life and lived it well. You felt fortunate and stayed positive even as you lost your vision, as you could no longer find the words or take care of your own basic needs. Your poor body let you down over and over again, and yet you engaged with life as well as you could and continued to chuckle even up until the end. You are my love, and I know that you are at peace now.
Hi, I think most of you know me. I'm daughter number 3, Sarah. I guess I'll start by saying that I've never written something like this before. This is the type of thing that, as many of you know, my dad was really good at. And until a few years ago, he would spend hours, and sometimes days or weeks, writing and rewriting his poems and musings in honor of people. Today, I wanted to talk about his writings and the joy, laughter, and at times embarrassment these brought to our lives. My dad's writings were his love letters and was his love language to all of us. Many of you were beneficiaries of his poems, emails, or in my case, also scrupulous edits. Over the past week, I've spent quite a bit of time digging through his computer and emails, reading as many of them as I could, which has been a very fun way to remember him. I found over 30 poems, drafts, and drafts of emails. And I mean, like, he saved Word documents with like 10 versions of the same draft of just an email for people. He put a lot of thought in your emails, people. Where was I? And countless saved articles that he wanted to send to everyone. For me, his writing was one of the ways he showed his love most clearly. He was probably the only person, aside from my PhD committee, who actually read my entire dissertation. Throughout my academic career, he spent late nights reviewing drafts, offering comments, and cheering me on with the kind of enthusiasm only he could sustain at 2 a.m. He also wrote some of the best emails I ever got when I really needed them. I recently found one of them that he wrote when I was living in France. I must have only been there for a few weeks. I was 22 years old, and I was really regretting my life choices and had called my parents in what he would probably have said in Ajda. And he had sent a follow-up email that I referenced for years to come. It was classic Dad, in full joke form, the italics, the bold words, the capitals, the exclamation points, or probably 20 exclamation points, the humor, and well-timed hyperbole. Somehow he managed to acknowledge exactly how I felt while also gently helping me see that maybe, just maybe, I was overreacting and was fully capable of getting through it. He also, of course, included a Latin phrase, a reference to the Serenity Prayer, and the Seneca quote that he personalized by adding he, she is most powerful who has power of over him, her, self. Aside from demonstrating the range of references we all know he could pull out on the spot, I think the thing that was most amazing is how this one email was exactly what I needed to bring me into stasis. Not just in that one moment, but in those to come. It contained such great advice that I would refer to it time and time again when I needed to ground myself over the years. I think we can all say we will miss receiving your words, Dad. We will miss your poems, your emails, and the thought you put into every word. And I hope we can carry on your tradition, maybe with a little bit more brevity.
So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Michelle. I'm Joe's first cousin, and I have been so lucky to be Debbie's close friend for 45 years. So that's why they let me come up here. For some context, my family spent 2 or 3 weeks a year in Brookville, Joe's hometown. My sister and I had one major goal usually, which is to spend as many hours as possible in the Strano household. We begged our parents, can we go up the hill? That meant go to the Stranos, and it was all we wanted to do. So, at those moments, sometimes at 8 o'clock in the morning, there were serious things going on. Joe's mom was getting ready to go to work. Joe himself, who was a teenager when I was a kid, was getting ready to go to work. So I could see, even then, Joe was a hard worker. He worked in my grandfather's warehouse, loading and unloading innumerable boxes of fruit and vegetables, day in, day out, in the heat, in the humidity. And he also had several aunts and uncles to supervise him all day in the family business. So he was a tough guy. He was a serious guy and a hard worker. At the end of the day, he would often end up on the baseball field playing for the Brookville Grays. Before I want to say that, though, I want to tell you about his mother. She had 2 strong messages for Emily and Teresa, Joe's sisters. One of them was, don't forget to make Joe a hot lunch. The next one would be, Joe's got a baseball game tonight, don't forget to give him early dinner. So what did I learn from this? Joe was a central figure in his family. He was strong, he was a hard worker, and we better feed him a lot. And Emily and Teresa followed through and fed him a lot. Joe didn't just work hard, though, he played hard. And we enjoyed watching him and his brothers, Sam and John, play their heart out at the baseball field. I have a vivid vision of him taking a huge lead from first base and running to second base like his whole life depended on it. He just really played the game intensely. He was already our hero, is what I'm trying to say. He was strong, hard worker, and had a lot of fun. Then he won a scholarship to Villanova, which of course elevated him in our esteem, and that was only a mile from our house. So I want you to imagine the joy of 2 teenage girls, my sister and I, when he would show up for dinner at our house in his navy whites with a hat. Need I say handsome? We adored him, and I need you to know that what I mean by adore is that my sister and I literally sat on the floor at his feet, listening and gazing at every word. Joe taught me during this time that he was a very respectful guy, and that he was kind to his family, and that he could tolerate 2 teenage girls gazing at his face while he talked to our parents, who were his godparents. Then, when he graduated Villanova, he actually promised us that when he was on his naval reserve, he went into the Navy full-time, of course, so this was another way he was our hero. He was a Navy pilot, helicopter pilot. When he finished those tours of duty, which I knew very little about at the time, he promised us on his reserve weekends he would fly over our house in his helicopter. I can't even tell you how exciting it was to see our cousin, and he did it. He did it. What did I learn from this? if you promise something to your family, it's really a thrill when you follow through. And by the way, you should keep your promises. It was really the most exciting thing. Now to adult life, and this is somewhat about canoes. Out of the blue, Joe called me. I think he knew I was having a hard time in my own life, actually. He called me 2 years in a row and said, "You gotta come to the General Clinton Canoe Regatta." Okay, Joe. I actually did that probably to break the routine and to please myself and please him. I do want to say, and Debbie so kindly referred to this was a huge organization that he pulled off. Mary Street, so many cousins, so many people that weren't cousins that I never met, and so many knots to tie. The biggest debates of the day would be, and they were long debates, which kinds of knots would keep the canoes on top of the cars. And some of the cousins and my brother sitting here will remember all that. Joe had fun the whole time. It could be cold, it could be raining, we could all be wondering when are these arguments going to be over and will the canoes ever get on top of the cars. He had fun the whole time. And a phrase that he taught me at that time, I hope I always remember. He would say, PMA, Michelle. You gotta have PMA. That's positive mental attitude. And that's how he pulled off the whole thing. So without his warmth and his welcome and his urging, I would have missed the whole festival of Mary Street every Memorial Day. I might never have tried Speedies or signed up for the canoe races myself. And I might never have brought Debbie to Binghamton. So that's my main accomplishment in life, I think. Couple more things. After Debbie's first canoe race, she's covered this beautifully, so I won't say a lot. I was shocked that Joe called her. I said, why? Why? Then he was off to Europe to meet her in Rome, and I was floored and excited. This was a whole other side of him, the romantic adventurer. I eventually forgave him for taking my best friend away from Philadelphia, because look what came after. 40 plus years of a love affair, 2 more beautiful daughters after the first 2. It was quite an adventure to watch. Another anecdote, if you'll allow. On the river again, not on a canoe, but on a raft, I learned more from Joe. My little son Christopher, at 3 1/2, was with me, and Joe fashioned the perfect way for a 3 1/2-year-old to be part of the raft experience. I looked around, my little guy in a very tight-fitting little kid's, life jacket, was sitting on top of the cooler that was full of beer in the middle of the raft. He couldn't have been any safer, but I looked at Joe. Joe was grinning. And I said, who would be more mad about this, your mother or my mother? And he pulled it off. He taught me, let's have fun, you can be safe, and you can break the mold all at the same time. I won't take too much more time, I promise. Joe had a giant heart, and in my experience, he became a giant in our family. I was lucky enough, and our family was lucky enough to spend many, many weekends and weeks at the shore, reunions in Brookville, holiday times in Binghamton. I feel very lucky for that. I will never forget, for example, his passion and his ability to dialogue and his enjoyment of stirring up a little bit of controversy. Particularly, I'll never forget himself and Donald Allen late at night, talking, and the first thing I would hear in the morning at 7:30 was him and Donald Allen talking. So we had a lot of joy, we had a lot of warmth. I just want to say that no matter where he was, Binghamton, Brookville, Cape May County, New Jersey, he just exuded warmth and love and generosity and kindness to everyone. And even in a bad mood, he was graceful enough to tolerate the chaos that tended to jump around him with all the children and all the events that we had. So, it's no wonder that I and my family, are so deeply grateful and so deeply sad And we will miss Joe so much because he was a giant in our family and in our lives. And I want to say thank you, Joe, for transforming yourself from a hero into a giant with a heart so big that nothing in the world really could contain it. And for Debbie, I know his huge heart will be with you every step of the way and envelop you with love.
Okay, is it better? No. Is it better now? Is it better now? Can you hear me in the back? No, they can't hear me in the back. Put my face, how about this? How about this? No? Better, okay. Okay, hi, I'm so, okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, hi. I'm Heidi Kaufman. I became friends with Debbie and Joe when our daughters attended the same daycare. Shortly afterwards, my late husband Donald, that has been referred to here, and I separated. When we got back together, Joe gave Donald his complete and unwavering support. That connection grew, and their friendship played an integral part in the lives of both our families, for which I will always be grateful. Joe was the most unpretentious man I've ever known. He truly was someone who judged a person on the basis of character. He loved a good argument. He was often provocative, but almost always willing to concede a point if it was meritorious. Someone pointed out to me that he would have liked that word. Okay. He was able to change his mind on any number of issues and was almost always respectful and almost never snide. He was open to different ideas related to spiritual aspects of life, and while he never fully embraced the practices of meditation and mindfulness, Debbie and I sometimes joked that he didn't need a spiritual practice, as he was already fully realized. He couldn't have agreed more. Joe could quell. His love and devotion to his family and close friends was peerless. A remarkable man has left us, not without a valiant fight, and despite the many heroic acts of many of his family, especially his wife Debbie, and his daughters, Marisa, Sarah, and Josie, who were with him to the end. Joe used to worry that he would become irrelevant when he retired. He needn't have worried. His life has surely been a blessing.
I have known Joe as long as I can remember. Marisa and I met in preschool, and after years of joint family vacations and holidays together, the Stranos have become my family. Joe and my dad had a great friendship. They did everything together from sailing trips to Torah study. And although in many ways Joe and my dad were opposite, they had one thing in common. They loved to talk. Joe was a great conversationalist. His interests and his knowledge were vast, and he could engage on anything from string theory to classical opera. I'm pretty sure he could even name all of the Spice Girls, thanks to his daughters. Joe was the original girl dad. I have the best memories of Joe and my dad taking us on our annual trip to the Smithsonian when our moms were at a conference. We were just walking around Washington, 2 dads, 3 kids, looking like the picture of the modern American progressive family. Joe was a Binghamton institution. he could often be found holding court at other Binghamton institutions like the Park Diner, Manny's Diner, or the actual courts at the Binghamton Tennis Center. He always had his ear to the ground for the local goings-on, but what he really loved was gossip. Whenever we would see him, the first thing he would ask was, "What's the scuttlebutt from City Hall?" Joe was like a second dad to me, and Grandpa Joe to my kids. I'll never think of elderberries or John Wilkes Booth and his extensive connections to Binghamton without Joe springing to mind, and I will miss him very deeply.
Can everybody hear me okay? Is this thing on? Yeah. All right, thank you. My name is John Yakalis. Most of you here probably don't know me. You might know my brother Steve, who has been helping Joe and Debbie the past few years. He lives here. I've been in Florida. I'd like to say that I've known Joe, my brother Steve, we've known him since late 60s, early 70s. We met at the folk dance group, and our mother would drag us along, kicking and screaming, just like Joe dragged Josie and Juliet. I'd like to say that I divide Joe's life into two different stages. Most of you know Joe A.D. I know Joe B.D. B.D. is before Debbie, and then A.D. is after Debbie. And the B.D. period was about a 38-year period, and the A.D. another 40-year period. And that interim between 5 years or so, Joe and I lived together and got to know each other pretty well. There were some others that came and stayed with for a while. Dwayne Sherwood, who's down from Vermont. And Joe and I would have these long, crazy conversations, you know, and I'm surprised that he was still asking these guys 40 years later the same question. You couldn't answer them, Mike? Well, I didn't know what to say because I knew everybody would be talking. So I had kept a diary the whole time I was with Joe. And I'd like to read an entry out of my diary from 1981. I think, yeah, this was BD. As you just came up after that, Debbie came up with Michelle and the gang. Last night after folk dancing, Joe, Darlene, Rick, Phyllis, Esther, Marlene, and I went to the Park Diner. I see you're all surprised, right? After we got home, Joe and I started talking. We first talked about karate, because I had done that for many years, about physics. Like I said, he's still asking the same questions. And then about religion. Joe said, and this might come as a surprise to some of you, this is from 1981, okay? Joe said he was raised Catholic, but could not convince himself to believe in it, and was amazed that here, 2,000 years later, people still held on to such an old concept. She's laughing. So, why are we here, Joe? I asked him. What is the purpose in our lives? And if you don't believe in an all-powerful, all-knowing, anthropomorphic being that watches over us, what purpose or logic is there to anything we do? You know, the whole Ecclesiastics thing is all over again, right? Meaningless, meaningless, all is meaningless. The sun rises and the sun sets, and it rises again. Generations come and generations go, and the only thing that remains is the earth. And I pushed him because I had a habit of trying to see how far I could take some people when I met them, see how copacetic, remember that word, copacetic we were? One of Joe's favorite words. We discussed this for many hours, and Joe said that life is all that we have, which makes it valuable and important in itself, because there is nothing else. All we'll ever have is this life. So how can we help but to cherish it? He also, excuse me, he also said that each person is an intricate part of nature, and that although it may seem to us there is no difference whether some unknown person far away dies, the entire scheme of nature has changed because that one person is gone, and that is undeniable. I kept digging because I wanted to see how far I could take him. He was bottomless. So I asked him, well, if there is no purpose, then where are we, humanity, going? He shrugged. Who cares? Just enjoy the voyage, John. Well, as you know, he didn't give me a reason why we exist. He didn't go into any platitudes, philosophical, religious, social, make your own purpose, serve a higher being. He just showed me that he believed each one of us is unique, an intricate part of nature and existence. And that alone made each one of us worthy of his interest, regardless of our faults, differences, or peculiarities. And I think that is probably why, that is what attracted all of us to him.
Can you all hear me? Okay, thanks. That was beautiful, John. A few people have alluded to my dad's gift of writing, and while I don't have his particular gift for doggerel poetry, I thought it appropriate to write him a poem, a standard, rhymey, old-fashioned poem. Rose. He spoke his own language, an idiom parade, plus expressions so peculiar only he could have made. Emails like novels, critiques full of flair, a personal dialect he infused everywhere. He devoured ideas, turned a chat into an event, with points and provocations of bonding intent. He was wonderfully weird, passions galore, Volvos, Bucky, those silk pants he wore. His sensory hallmarks will remain near. Burnt garlic in the air, NPR in the ear. He taught us to be curious, to embrace a quirk, to treat life as a study, but not live to work. He taught leadership, decency, and not to complain. He so rarely grumbled, no matter the pain. I love that my daughter Luna, from her yay munchkin size, looks up to us now with his same warm brown eyes. He fought long enough so she'd get to meet the star of so many stories that we'll forever repeat. We teased him for his almosts of deeds unfulfilled, and he took it like a champ. He chuckled and chilled. But there was nothing almost about how he shone as a dad, complete and completely his own. So here's to the man who made life feel full, with whom road trips and breakfasts never felt dull. We honor his life, imperfect but right, the proudest Mancino to take flight. Mancino means left-hander. Dad, we're grateful, we're honored. We'll carry your spark, your words, your humor, your history, your heart.
Hi, I'm Debbie Saltzman, and I'm going to read When Great Trees Fall by Maya Angelou in honor of Joe. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Oh, sorry. You'll, yeah. Right now, we will have Kristen sing Over the Rainbow. Thank you.
Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me.
final prayer of comfort. May the mourners here be enclosed and wrapped in the wings of the community of mourners and find comfort and consolation, and say amen.
This flag is presented to you on behalf of the grateful nation in recognition of your husband's service to his country. The services for Joe are complete, and on behalf of the family, I'd like to thank you for your prayerful, kind attendance this morning, for your floral expressions and other expressions of sympathy. As I said before, the family will observe Shiva tomorrow at the family home at 27 Denton Road, on the south side of Binghamton. At this time, I'll excuse everyone from the chapel. Thank you.